Recording. So one of the silver linings of online classes is that our classes are easily recorded through Zoom, so that if you miss a class, which we figure there's probably a few people playing hooky today because it's so nice outside, all you have to do is email us afterwards at OLLI, OLLI at berkshirecc.edu and request a link to the recording, and we'll be happy to send it to you. So that's really wonderful because I know you won't want to miss anything in this class. My name is Megan Wilden, and I'm the director of OLLI, which is, I feel very fortunate to be so. I'm just wondering if there's anyone here, this is their first ever OLLI class. If so, if you want to raise, you can raise your hand old school. No? Okay, that's great. Well, welcome back, everyone. As many of you know, OLLI is volunteer powered. We have 2.4 staff and over 1,300 members. And over 200 of those members are volunteers and help organize classes, teach classes, organize special events, work on fundraising and our newsletter and so many other things. And it's a great way to meet new people and help create the kinds of programs that you want to enjoy by volunteering. And it so happens that our volunteer whisperer, Shelly Sturman, is here with us as well. Shelly is a member of our board. She is co-chair of our Arts Curriculum Committee, which is a fabulous committee. She is on our governance committee, and she is also our volunteer coordinator. So if you're interested in volunteering, you can reach out to her and she will help you find a perfect fit for what you're interested in. And Shelly, as the co-chair of the Arts Curriculum Committee, will also be introducing our wonderful instructor today. So it is my deep pleasure and gratitude to introduce Shelly Sturman. Shelly?
Good afternoon. It's such a pleasure to introduce my friend, Anna Gershenson. Known Anna for a couple of years, and she's a wonderful cook and personality. Anna was born in Riga, Latvia, and got her love of cooking alongside her mother's cooking. When she came here, her repertoire expanded greatly because cooking in Latvia had been with simple products. Anna is a professional cook and she develops and tests recipes. She's a culinary and healthy eating educator and TV personality, and she's produced and hosted an award-winning cooking show for the past couple of years on local community TV, which was underwritten by Guido's. Anna has run a professional catering business since 1980, and her recipes have been published in the Boston Globe and New York Magazine. My husband and I have had the privilege of being at Anna's table on multiple occasions, and I can assure you that her recipes are interesting, delicious, and beautifully presented. I am happy to give you Anna Gershenson today.
Thank you so much, Shelly. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, and thank you, OLLI, for inviting me to be one of your instructors. I'm in a fabulous company of very dedicated, talented people who are offering their gifts to the community. And now I'm one of you. So very, very happy to be here. So my topic is cooking, and cooking is a very, very ancient art. And interestingly, when Julia Child was asked in an interview when cooking started being labeled as domesticated art, they asked Julia, what do you think about it? And Julia was totally incensed. She said that this shouldn't be promoted as some kind of commercial enterprise. Cooking is a life skill, and cooking is something that you devote your love to, that you engage yourself because you want to make other people happy. And this is how I feel when I come into the kitchen. It is just amazing that I was endowed with this wonderful gift that served me all my life. And it served me not only by being able to feed myself, feed my family, feed my friends, feed my clients, and always getting rave reviews, but also it actually served as a vehicle for healing from very many different illnesses. So I am healthy and happy, and I'm putting my loving, happy, healthy energy into what I'm doing today with you. I hope that the recipes that I'm presenting will be interesting for you, and that you will take them, get into the kitchen, feel the love, and start cooking. Okay, so number one, when I come and I have a menu to prepare, I always ask myself, what am I going to do first and what am I going to do next? And I am taking, I'm looking at my recipes, and I'm looking and discussing with myself. So I want them to be ready at about the same time. So what is it going to be? So today I have lamb koftas with almond gravy, and I actually chose grass-fed beef because lamb is not very well available, like ground lamb of good quality is not very well available here. Also, there is cauliflower rice. I could have made basmati rice. Usually, this kind of Indian dish is served either with basmati or jasmine rice, but I thought, why not add a vegetable when this is what has so much nutrition and also is so delicious? So I decided to make a cauliflower rice, which has been very popular. There are even cauliflower pizza crusts for people who cannot eat grains. And a spring salad with local mixed greens, radishes, and mint. And of course, right away, I reached out to Jim Schultz, who is the owner of Red Shirt Farm. And I said, tell me what's in season, and that's what I'll get from you, and that's what I will cook today. And so this is the recipe that I just put together. And a drink that we will talk about a little later. So I think that it's great to break down the cauliflower first, because while we are cooking lamb koftas, and maybe we'll have to wait a little bit until they're ready. And the salad, I don't want to make and let sit to wilt, although I could stick it in the refrigerator without being dressed. But having cauliflower that you can even prepare a few days in advance and put it into a closed container and keep it there. So let's start with that. And for cauliflower rice, I actually went and looked at cauliflower that was available. And of course, your cooking starts with your shopping. When you go to the supermarket, you look at what is seasonal, hopefully, because we feel better when we eat seasonal food. Then what looks good? Then you remember that, there are vegetables and fruit that some are on the Dirty Dozen list and some are say 15. So if you want to stay healthy and feed yourself the best quality ingredients, then you probably want to make sure that you buy organic apples and strawberries and leafy greens. But something like cauliflower or cabbage or onions or lemons or asparagus, they don't have to be organic, so you don't have to overpay. So I saw that there was this gorgeous kind of light orange cauliflower. And of course, they come in purples too. And we know that the more intense the color is, the more nutrients there are in the vegetable or in the fruit. And that's why when we look at peppers, which are actually wonderful food that is very, very like full of nutrients, when we look at peppers, then we want to choose red peppers because red peppers have more nutrition than green peppers, for example. So what do I do first? First, I kind of take it into my hand and I see if it is heavy, if it feels nice and heavy. And this is how you do also with, oranges and grapefruits and, cabbages. If it feels heavy, it means that it's really nice and hefty, and it's going to be, it's going to have more juices. So then I make sure that there are no blemishes. Sometimes cauliflower is kept somewhere for a long time, and you get these kinds of like a little black, like moldy things appearing. So you don't want that. So you pick the one that is really very, very clean. And then you want to start preparing it. So what you do is you will take the cauliflower and you just cut it in half. So I always encourage you to put your vegetable in a way that it is nice and stable on your cutting board. So if I put it here like that, it's wobbly, and when I want to cut it, it's moving around. So I flip it and I keep it stable. And then I cut it in half. Okay. And then again, I cut it in half to make quarters, because then it will be very easy for me to get the core out. And if the core is very tender, then you can use it also, process it. But if not, then you can just chop it up and like eat it like as a crudité or something like that. It's absolutely edible. And then you just remove your greens together with the core. So it's very simple. It's just like one movement. And do it to all of your quarters. And then you will separate them into florets that you will process either in the food processor, or another way to do it is you could use hand, like box grater, but who wants to do that, right? Probably everybody today has food processor at home. So you can either like do it by hand, or it's easier to just cut it into florets. Okay, about equal size. And then if you have a food processor that is small in size, you want to make sure that you do not overfill it. You want to fill it like about 3/4 full. I have a commercial food processor, so I'll just put everything there. And once it's processed, we will have beautiful cauliflower that resembles either rice or couscous. Let me move it out of the way for now. Okay, all right, put this aside. Okay, so I will move it to my food processor that I set up here on the side. You cannot see it, but you will hear it very soon. So let me put it first into the pot to move it more easily. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Here we go. Okay. Okay. See, it only took about a minute, and your cauliflower rice is ready to be cooked. So I will just put it away. Okay. All right. And we will deal with it when we are ready. Next, we are going to start working with our kofta. So what is it that we need in our kofta? We need to have spices. We need to have flavorings like onion and garlic and ginger. And I found that with the invention of a microplane grater, in some cases, like for example, when I'm making a meatloaf or I'm making meatballs, that even though the instruction calls for chopped onion and minced garlic, I actually prefer to grate because it's much faster. So I have a pound of beef here. So I will put the beef into my bowl where I'm going to be mixing it. And I already pre-measured the spices that I'm going to add, and they are in your recipe. There is turmeric, and there is chili pepper, and coriander. Wonderful, wonderful spices. And remember that spices are something that we really want to add to our diet, especially because herbs and spices, if we go back, way, way back, this is what was medicine in the past. And only with the advent of traditional medicine and pharmaceutical sciences, we started using them to heal ourselves. But this is something that we probably forgot, that actually this is medicine. And not only medicine, but it gives wonderful flavor to the food. So I'm going to take the onion, and I want to show you that when I start cutting, I want to make sure that number one, I have the best knife that I can afford, because it will serve me for the rest of my life. And believe me, this knife was purchased probably 25 years ago, and it is still alive. And this is Nakiri knife that is wonderful for cutting vegetables. Very, very easy. And I know that Shelly saw me cutting on my show, and she said, Anna, what kind of knife are you using? So I think she has one as well. And then I have this sharpening steel. And sharpening steel is something that I recommend for you to use every time before you start using your knife. Knives need to be sharp in order for you to be safe with them and to do the best job you can. And you need to sharpen them maybe every 6 months, maybe not even that, maybe once a year. But honing it is something that you need to do before every job. Just going like that, okay, a few times, or holding it and going this way. And that way you're sure that your knife is in the best shape for your cutting. So I'm taking the onion, and then I am peeling it. And as I said before, I'm placing it flat. I'm cutting it in half. And then it's very easy for me to peel once it's cut in half. And there is always a layer there that is kind of not very fresh, unless the onion is really new onion. And then I will just grate it. I don't need to cut it at this point. I will just grate it, and you will see that it will go very, very nicely. So we need 1 medium onion peeled. Okay, so I'll take my grate. I'll take this grate. It has a little bigger holes. And I'll just fold it over my bowl. You could also add meat later. You could have all your flavorings at the bottom of the bowl, and then add the meat and add the beaten egg and combine it together and do it this way. So we'll grate the onion, and then we will add the garlic. There is a good amount of garlic that goes into this. And then we'll add the grated ginger. And of course, grated ginger is going to add wonderful, wonderful aroma. And remember that ginger is really like a miracle herb. It helps you with your digestion. It helps you if you have cramps. You drink ginger juice and it helps you with that. It also is great if you have nausea. So you can always, I can show you that after you grate ginger, that to get the juice, you simply put it into your hands or put it into a strainer and push on it and put the juice into a little glass, a little shot glass, and you can drink it straight, or if it's too strong, you can always add a little water, a little lemon juice, and this is the kind of drink we're going to make with you. Okay, so we did our onion. All right, now I'll rinse my hands. And we will prep our garlic. And in the meantime, our oven is being preheated. And as you can see, the garlic, it's so easy to peel the garlic. You just press on it and hear the crack. And once you hear the crack, it means that the skin has released and your garlic is going to come out easily. See how easy it is? After cracking, you're done. Then you just cut off that root end that holds it together. So we will add 4 cloves of garlic and about an inch of ginger. And since we are going to be peeling the ginger, we will also add it to our ginger juice to our glass where we are going to make the drink a little later. Okay.
Anna, can you please tell us how to scrape without hitting our knuckles?
Oh, well, you don't come too close. I mean, you don't go all the way to the end. So if you take a piece of onion, for example, that is a little bigger than you need, right? And then you just stop where it's close, and also the way that you are holding. So you're not holding like that your knuckles are close. You're actually holding your hand, see, like I'm showing from the side. You're holding your hand so that it lands on the grater, right? And your knuckles are not involved at all. See?
Thank you.
Yes. You just grate and see how much faster it is than chopping it. Okay, and once you come close, you just toss the rest. And I encourage you to have graters that have different sizes of holes. For example, there are microplane graters that are really, really fine, and I use them for zesting citrus fruit. Or nutmeg. There are graters that have bigger holes, like this is very handy because it's going to be cooked anyway. So you can have a little bigger hole, and also at the same time, it's much faster. If your hole is bigger, then your result will be faster. Okay, now I'll rinse my hands again, and I'm going to take a piece of ginger. And to peel ginger, all you need is a spoon. You take a spoon, and by the way, if your ginger is organic, you don't even have to peel it. And to store ginger, if you want it to last longer, you can just freeze it, and then take out. You can freeze it in chunks. You can probably freeze it even in peeled chunks, and take it out and use whatever you need. Because sometimes, you know, we buy something and we think, oh, it looks so good, it's good for you, but we forget that we bought it, and we keep it, and then it goes bad, and then we just toss it without taking advantage of this wonderful, healthy food. Also, I encourage you, when you are working with something, I'm now tossing things into my pail, like into my bucket, but you can always have a bowl sitting next to you where you're going to be tossing things. So now I'll grate my ginger. And then you add salt. And salt, the salt I use is kosher diamond salt. And this is what most chefs use. They actually differ. Some chefs like Morton, some like diamond. I prefer diamond because it is fluffier, it is less salty. If you have a instruction to use Morton, then you should reduce the amount of salt you are using by half, because Morton is that much saltier. All right, so we have all of this now salt.
Anna,
Okay.
can you freeze the garlic as well as the ginger? Are there other things you can freeze for using later, like a garlic?
I would not freeze garlic. Ginger, yes. I would not freeze garlic though.
Thank you.
Garlic keeps really well, and it's just a question of keeping it, you know, in a breathable container or in some kind of ceramic container, not in the refrigerator. You don't store it in the refrigerator. Okay. I usually don't measure salt. I just put it and this happens to be the right amount, but it says 1 teaspoon there. But the good thing is that you can also later, because these koftas are going to be cooking in the oven, and then later in the juice, I mean in the sauce, then you will taste your sauce, and since they will take away some of the saltiness of the sauce, it will get absorbed into them. And if the sauce doesn't take, you know, flavorful enough, then you can just add it later to the sauce and let it sit. And it's always nice to let it sit a bit. Okay, so for the egg, I recommend that, you know, we have local farms that have pastured eggs. And of course, if they are organic, it means that there is no GMO food involved. And we need to remember that what we put into our bodies is actually what becomes our body. So if we eat, for example, beef that was fed grains that are GMO, or it was injected antibiotics or given antibiotics in their food, then all of that becomes a part of you. And now we have, of course, grass-fed beef that didn't exist before. I grew up on grass-fed beef, but I didn't know it until I came to this country and started getting migraines because I didn't know why. I just started getting migraines, and then I read in the Vegetarian Times that there were antibiotics and hormones and beef and poultry, and I said, oh, it's not going into my body. I was just horrified. And a few months later, I noticed that my migraines were gone. So some people have more tolerance, and they can kind of, you know, I don't want to use it's such a loud word, abuse, but you know, you can treat your body unfavorably and think that nothing is happening, and then one day down the road, like aha moment, you are sick, but you don't know why you are sick. But if you honor your body and feed yourself nutrients that are healthy and health-giving, then your body will reward you, and you will have a fulfilled life for many years that is healthy. Okay, so now I'm mixing. So you see, I'm doing it with my hands, because hands are the best tools. And then you can feel everything. You can feel the texture, and you can feel if everything is incorporated well. And you can always wash your hands, because of course, with raw meat and raw poultry, especially raw poultry that can have salmonella, that you don't want to touch anything with your hands that can transfer into another food. So I feel that it's really nice and mixed well. Everything is well incorporated. The texture is really soft and supple, you know, so it's ready to be formed. And I already preheated my oven to 400 degrees. And once I form my meatballs or koftas, then they will be cooking and we will start making the sauce. So let me wash my hands. Okay. All right. So I preheated the oven to 400 degrees, and you have to remember that your ovens are really, could be widely different in terms of temperature. You can always, you know, have some kind of thermometer that is gauging that temperature and showing whether it's the right temperature and then adjusting it. If it shows you need 400, it shows 375. So crank it up to 425, for example. But keep it in mind that preheating it well really helps in that respect. So I have prepared this baking sheet and I lined it with parchment paper. So I'll place it here. Okay, I'll put this pot aside for now. This is the pot where we are going to be making our sauce. And I'm taking an ice cream scoop. I'm taking an ice cream scoop because it's much easier to make your meatballs when you have your ice cream scoop and when you can actually measure so that they go about equal. Then I also have a little bit of cold water in my bowl because I will be dipping my hands into the bowl, and that way they will become smooth and it will be very easy for me to shape them and to release them onto my baking sheet. So I need about 12 of them, right? So I can start actually by just placing these scoops right here. And then I'll see whether, you know, my measurements are good, or if I need to adjust something, take a little bit away or add somewhere. Okay. All right. Looks like we are in good shape. So we get 12 of these. We get 12 of these. And of course, you can always make them in advance. That's the good part of dish like that you can make it in advance. And actually, because there is sauce there, flavors always need to melt, and it might even taste better the next day than right away. Okay, so I kind of see that some of them are a little smaller, so I would even them out because I want to make sure that when I'm cooking them, they cook evenly. That's why it's important to have them about the same size. Okay, and now they're more or less even, and I will quickly shape them and then place them in the oven to brown. So I will take to put my, okay, let me move this out of the way so that you can see. I dip my fingers, I take the meatball and I just roll it. Roll it quickly and place it back. And again, the same thing. You can even pat, you know, put like a little pat of cold water onto your palm and do the same thing. Just like that. Just roll it. Don't push it. Don't press it. Just be gentle with it. Like treat it like it is a very gentle person. Of course, I'm personifying. This is not really right to personify your meatballs, but just remember that when you're cooking, you don't have to push anything, be gentle, be kind. When you come into the kitchen, just leave your worries behind. Don't bring your worries, your concerns into the kitchen, because that energy that you feel is being transferred to your food, believe it or not. I remember there is a book like Water for Chocolate, and the heroine loved cooking and feeding people. And whenever she was happy, and she was always happy, so whenever they come to the table, they're just so joyous and excited and want to sing and enjoy their food. And so they were used to her food being like that. And then one day she fell in love with somebody, and it was an unhappy love. And she became so upset that she was cooking and crying. And guess what? When guests were eating her food, they were crying too. So that's very true. I know that people feel the love, the emotion that you put into your food. So now we'll stick it into the oven for about 20 minutes. Okay, I got my timer. Again, I'll wash my hands. And at this point, we will quickly start with the sauce. So also, before I go with the sauce, I want to, I know that I have in my recipes, I have toasted almonds, and almonds are wonderful food, full of nutrients. It's very good for your brain. It's good for your hormones. It has calcium, vitamin K. So what you want to do is put your sliced almonds that we will sprinkle. We can sprinkle them on cauliflower. We can sprinkle them on salad. It's always nice to have a crunch, because when you are cooking, you're also thinking about textures. How will this be? I don't want everything to be soft, or I don't want everything to be hard. I want it to be kind of a variety of textures that is going to be very enjoyable. And I'm cooking them maybe for about 3 minutes. Barbara, if you can remind me, if you can check your clock to see when 3 minutes are done.
Sure.
That would be great. Can you hear me, Barbara?
I can. I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm going to let you know.
Okay, don't forget, even though usually I'm on top of it, but you never know. So now to prepare our sauce, we need onion again. And onion, you know, onion is just an amazing, amazing vegetable that is good eaten raw. We will put a little bit of raw red onion. It has, it's like it has sulfurs that are very, very good for you. And in this case, we're just going to cut it, and I'll show you how to quickly chop the onion. I know that there are traditional ways. I'll show you 2 different ways how I do it. And you can decide for yourself what works better for you. So traditionally, chefs, see, I do not remove the very tip, because that's where the root end is, and it's holding all these layers together. And it will help me keep it together and cut it more easily. And again, the same rule. It's flat. I cut it off so that it's flat and it's easier for me. And now I also put it flat on the surface here. And so you can either make these cuts that go very close to the root, but they actually don't cut through the root. So I know that the more you do it, the more adept you become. So it takes patience. That's how we learn everything, right?
Anna, that's 3 minutes. That's 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Now, are you putting that in a toaster oven? We can't see the.
Another 2 minutes.
Okay.
It's not done. Thank you. Okay, so I am actually following you see there are these little lines. They're like meridians on the onion, and I'm following them. And I can move the onion, you know, it's not convenient. If I start here, then I can move it and go this way. And then I just cut it, holding all these layers, and also making sure that my fingers are not sticking out. Because when my fingers are not sticking out, there is no way I'm going to cut myself. If you stick out your fingers like that, you watch out. But otherwise, there is no way, because they are hidden, and my knife is right next to my knuckles. And my knuckles are allowing me to see how wide or how narrow I want to cut it, and that's what I do. So another way that you can do it, which is a simpler way, you just hold it straight and do straight lines and do, you know, the width that you desire. Like my width is about a little under 1/4 inch. And traditionally, if you see a chef, they would also make these kinds of cuts, but it's totally unnecessary because everything will get cooked and softened and mixed, and you really, there is no need for you to be making that extra step. So you see now you have two different ways, and I'm turning on.
Okay, check those almonds, Anna.
Thank you. Okay, all right. They are getting there, but still not there.
Another minute or two.
I want them kind of light brown. Light brown.
Anna, do you have those almonds in a toaster oven?
Yes, I put them in the toaster oven. Yes, I try to use. It's really a very nice little oven that, even though it's not huge, but you can put a lot of things. I can even roast a chicken there. And I try to use it, you know, to save electricity. I try to use it instead of using my huge oven whenever I can.
Okay, let's look at those almonds.
Okay. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off now, and I'm going to keep it a little open because they're already in good condition. They can just sit there. All right, so what do we do now? We can decide what kind of fat we use. I like using either extra virgin olive oil or grass-fed butter. I actually stopped buying butter that is not grass-fed because I know that grass-fed has the advantage of having nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids in it. So that's true of the meat and of the butter. And so I will use butter and I will put it in. And then I will add my onions. And you want to make sure that your stove doesn't get too hot. So I removed it a little bit because it overheated a little. I don't want it to burn. Now I'm putting it back. Okay. And now I always season everything that I cook immediately. So for example, if I were adding carrots later, then I would season carrots again with salt, just a little pinch, but that helps develop flavor. And there is nothing like salt that will help you develop the flavor. And this is something you need to remember. If you want to have good flavor and you add salt at the very end, it's not going to be as good as if you are seasoning as you are going. Okay, so now we also need garlic. We have a clove of garlic that will go there. And you can grate it as well. Or I'll show you how I cut it. And remember that you want to watch to make sure that here I will reduce the heat a little bit because it's cooking a little bit too fast. So what I'm going to do is just cut the garlic in half. And sometimes if the garlic is old, and I recommend that you also, when you buy your garlic, you can kind of like feel it. If it's soft, then it's probably an old garlic, and then this little sprout is going to be bitter, and the onion, your garlic, is not going to taste good at all. And what I do is I just cut it like that, finely, and mince it. Okay, so first these kind of cuts, and these going in. Okay, and then I'm adding it. Garlic should always be added after the onion has already softened, because if garlic cooks too long, it becomes bitter. So make sure that you don't add your garlic too early, and don't allow it to start browning. It should just start softening. And again, we're going for more ginger. And this time it's going to be grated the same way. So I will be peeling it quickly. Okay, I'm grating it. And I already have water. I like preheating my water in an electric kettle that I have. For example, when I'm making soups, and if I'm making soup that is based on water, and I also can recommend that there is a nice vegetable broth powder that I can show you. It is Settenbacher brand, and I can always send to everybody the name of this brand. When I'm making soup, I'm usually using water. I don't make vegetable broth. And then I just add it. And it's a wonderful thing to have. So when I'm making soups, I always preheat my water. I boil it in an electric kettle because my vegetables are sauteing. I don't want to pour cold water and you know, kind of shock them. I want my process of cooking to continue. So whatever I put there, sometimes like making squash soup, or soup with potatoes and peas and broccoli. You know, there are many different soups that I make. I always add boiling water to it so that it continues cooking. Okay, so this looks good. And now we are going to cook it just a bit together. And then we will add the almond meal. Almond meal, you know, you don't have to grind your almonds anymore. And almond meal is so readily available, and it's nutritious, and you can make baked goods for people who want to avoid wheat or who cannot eat wheat. There are many people now who are intolerant to wheat or gluten-free. You don't really need to make something yummy. You can just use almond meal. Okay, so we add almond meal. Okay. Yes, another thing that we need to add here, important thing, our spices. We add our trio of spices again, like in our kofta. We're adding turmeric and ginger, and chili and coriander, and we're cooking them together. And it's always a good idea to kind of bloom your spices in the fat, because when you are doing it, you are helping their flavor and their nutritional properties to develop properly. And you can smell, like you always should have all your senses in the kitchen. You know, it's important for you to smell and to hear and to see and even to touch in order to know whether or not your food is at the level where it should be. Like you will smell when something is burning, for example.
Anna, can you tell us if almond meal and almond flour are the same or different?
Yes. Well, they could be the same and they could be different. It all depends on the grind, because there are some that they say that they are super fine and some are just fine. So for baking, it might be important, but here it's not really important. So I'm adding half a cup of my almond meal and I'm mixing it in, and it smells fabulous. Okay. All right. So at this point that I cook them together and they are all kind of combined and mixed well, I'm going to go and add my water. So I need a cup of water. Is it a cup of water? Let's see. I think it is a cup of water. Let me look at my.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Barbara. So I'm adding, and while I'm talking to you, when you are measuring something in this kind of glass measure, it's important. It's not so important for the sauce, but when you are baking, it has to be precise because baking is science. Then you need to keep your cup at the eye level so that you see that your eye level is at the same level as you're measuring. All right, so now I'm increasing the heat again because I want it to start boiling quickly. And you know, in recipes, you always see, you know, they are describing and they are trying to give you the best possible way. You know, when I work with recipe testing or development and I need to transcribe recipes, then I know that I need to write for how many minutes and at what heat, and what heat do you start at, and then to what heat do you graduate to, and you know, many details that never existed before. You know, before you have a recipe and it will tell you what to put there and you figure it out by yourself. So you are cooking it. Okay. And then it's already boiling. So all you need basically is just taste it. And of course, you need salt. Salt is the spice of life, as we say, the stuff of life. I don't know where we would be without salt. And by the way, often when I'm cooking, people see how much salt I add to my food, and they're always saying to me, what are you doing? Salt is bad for you, that it causes high blood pressure. You have to be careful with salt and sodium consumption when you're eating processed foods, because our industry has made processed foods unreal. And what I advocate is eating real food. And the food we're cooking today is real food. And what I mean by unreal is that food is so processed that they have to add back nutrients to make it nutritious. Also, there is a huge industry now of artificial flavors and natural flavors that you don't know whether what you are eating is really the natural thing, like the flavor of the food that you're consuming, or is it some kind of additive that they put there so that it tastes like real food and it tastes good for you. And you feel, oh my God, I feel so happy. But you know what? It just makes you satiated, or how do you say it, Barbara? Sated?
Satiated.
Satiated, yeah.
Satisfied.
It doesn't really give you nutrients. So my kofta is done. Perfect timing. So what I'm going to do now, I'll grab my oven mitt. And we will continue cooking kofta right there, but I will switch to my stove in the back because you don't need to see what's happening. And so we will put, at this point, it's very convenient let me see where my tongs are. Okay. It's very convenient to use tongs. So you will just take your tongs and you place your kofta right into your sauce. And you put your juices there as well. Those juices that come out, you add them there as well. Okay. And they have to just to cook a little bit, and then you will add acid. You know, acid always lifts flavors. So it's always good to have lemon juice on hand, or you can use even white vinegar for that. So I will take my spatula and I will scrape all these, whatever came out is going to become part of our dish. And because it wasn't fatty meat, so I don't really have much fat here either. So I'm adding it back into the sauce. All right, and that's it. So what are we going to do now? We're going to cover it. We will make sure that it is cooking, okay? That's what you want to make sure of. That it is coming back to boil. Before you cover it, you bring it back to boil, and then you can reduce the heat again, and it's just another like 5 minutes, and they can just sit happily and wait while the rest of our meal will be ready. Okay, so I see that they are coming to boil. They're simmering. You don't want them boiling. You want them simmering. And at this point, I'm going to taste, because I want to make sure that the sauce has enough flavor, that it's seasoned well, because it's going to impart its flavor also to the meat. They are going to mingle together. So we'll taste it now and we'll taste it later after they've been cooking together and sitting. And it's just perfect for now. So I don't need to add anything anymore.
Anna, I'm gonna give you a time check. We're at 2:30, so we're 1 hour into the program, and we have 30 more minutes.
Great.
Just so you know.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. All right. So they are cooking. I'm setting the timer 5 minutes, and then I'll turn them off. And I'm covering them with the lid being a little bit open. Okay, so now I'm turning this one off. I'm taking out, oh, I didn't turn off the oven, so some of them burnt. So we'll use only some of them. Okay.
Anna, what is the stovetop that you're using? Is that a special small stovetop that you?
What is what?
What is the stovetop you're using there that you're cooking the kofta on?
Can you ask me again?
Is that a special small stovetop that you're using to cook the kofta on?
Okay, that's an induction. That's an induction top. And I actually, my friend Ora Whitman, who owns this wonderful cafe at the Berkshire Mountain Bakery, she let me borrow hers. So now we are going to use a skillet to cook our cauliflower. Right. So our cauliflower is here. So all we need, we don't really need much for cauliflower. All we need, and I'm going to rinse my spatula. All we need for cauliflower is butter or oil. I'm not putting garlic or additives like maybe, you know, you could use cumin. Cumin goes very nicely with cauliflower. So you can taste it and grind it and add it there. But we're just going to make plain cauliflower. We're going to use some parsley. We will chop some parsley. And I also wanted to show you, well, when I'm going to put cauliflower to cook, I wanted to show you how I'm washing my herbs. So I'm taking, okay, you know what? I'll make a mix of butter and oil. That's traditionally how the French, they cook in the French cuisine. It would be nice to have, if you use butter, just butter alone, it would be nice to brown it a little bit, because cauliflower and brown butter flavor-wise go very nicely together. So I'm going to put them together and melt. Okay. And right away, I will transfer the cauliflower into it. And all you need to do is just stir it up, you know, like stir it from time to time so that it browns. I like to have it browned and cooked through. That's all we need, just browned and cooked through. It shouldn't take more than like 7 to 10 minutes. And again, as I shared with you before, I'm right away sprinkling the salt. And another wonderful ingredient that is actually, nobody thinks that it has nutritional qualities, but it does. Black pepper has nutritional qualities, and it also it makes all your nutrients that come into your body, it helps them, it makes them more bioavailable. Okay, so I'm just increasing the heat a little bit. I'm not very familiar with the stove top, so I have to be careful with it. And I'll grind a little pepper right away. And I always encourage you to use a pepper mill, because in order to get the wonderful flavor of pepper and all the nutritional qualities, you really want it freshly ground. And again, this pepper mill, there is a pepper mill called Unicorn, which is something my children have, and they've used it for years and years and years. And this one, I bought it, you know, very soon after I came to this country, and I could afford to buy a $50 pepper mill. But now I've been in this country since 1975, right? And it's still alive. So it's worth investing into good ingredients. So while it's cooking, all you need here is some lemon juice, and then we'll chop some parsley. So I'm showing to you, when you bring your herbs home, you want to wash them, and you don't wash them under running water. You put them into a pool of water in a bowl. And then you put, like this parsley happens to be very clean, but sometimes it's really, really dirty. And the same with greens, the same with lettuce greens, or with, you know, greens like kale or spinach. You want to wash them in a bowl of water or in a basin, and then just dry them well, because if your herbs are wet, then they will dilute flavors. It's not a good idea. And with parsley, I leave the stems out. So now see, it's time again to stir up your cauliflower, and you will be surprised how quickly it cooks and how delicious it will be. And of course, it's in the cruciferous family, which radishes are as well. You will be surprised too. You probably didn't think that radishes belong to the same family as cauliflower, but they have the same kind of nutrients. And so you take your parsley and you just pull it like that. You don't have to strip each leaf. You just pull it, and the stems you can save if you are making like chicken soup, for example. You can always keep saving these kinds of greens and leftovers from celery or leeks or, you know, fennel, carrots, whatever. You can always save them, or dill stems, in your freezer. Freeze them, and then when you're making your soup, pull them out and add them to your soup. Chicken soup always loves having many different herbs and vegetables. All right, so now stirring again, and tasting. Okay, so where is my taster? Okay. It tastes very nice. There is perfect amount of salt and pepper. When you cook for a long time, you develop this instinct, you know, you don't know how you know, but you just happen to add always the right amount. And now we are going to chop our parsley, and I will show you how to chop your herbs, except for basil. All herbs can be chopped like that, except for basil. You actually like make like a little lump and hold it tightly. And then you just go with your knife like that, with this motion. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And hold very tightly. Stick out your knuckles so that your fingers are not hurt. And just go, go, go. And you don't even have to look, you know. When you are doing it like that, safely, you don't even have to look. And then you just chop it up like that. Koftas are cooking very nicely. I can turn them off already. This is basically done. It's brown. It's brown. At this point, what I'm going to do is I will just squeeze some lemon juice, and you can just take lemon and put your hand to catch the seeds and just pour some lemon juice into it. And lemon juice acid, you know, is wonderful for balancing flavors. Lately, I started using sumac. Sumac is also this, it's a wonderful spice that has very, very tough flavor. And if you don't want to have the liquid or don't feel with it, you could add sumac and use it for the same purpose. Okay, so I'm turning it off. I'm taking a bowl and I'm transferring my cauliflower into the bowl. And you're going to have a very nice accompaniment to your kofta. Okay, and then you'll sprinkle with chopped parsley. And what you can do is, you can also, if you are going to serve in a way that, you know, at a big table, you want a big platter, so you can just put it on the side and put meatballs in the middle and pour juices all over. That would be very pretty as well. So you are going to sprinkle it, and you could also sprinkle some toasted almonds. Almonds also go nicely with cauliflower for crunch. Like if you are not using it in a salad, you can always sprinkle here. So you have your nice cauliflower like that, and salad. So I'll show you very quickly how this salad, you know, I just threw together ingredients, and that's how I usually make salad. I can have very few ingredients, or have very many ingredients, depends on what I have on hand. And I love using a lot of different things, like I could grate some carrots, or I could grate daikon radish into it, or I could add scallions and lots of herbs. I love using a lot of herbs. I always have a lot of herbs at home. And for example, cilantro goes very nicely with like kofta flavor. Cilantro would go very nicely with the salad as well. And
one of our guests is asking about reducing the amount of this food for a person of 1 or 2. Can you cut this recipe in half?
Yes, absolutely. You can, but you can also freeze your kofta. You can make the whole amount and freeze, or with cauliflower, you can make it and you don't have to eat it at once, you know, just divide it into several servings. You can have it like for 3 days in the refrigerator. Or you can cook just some of the cauliflower. Have your raw cauliflower sitting in the refrigerator, it's already made, and you saw how fast it is. You don't really need anything. You're not even putting any garlic, just a little fat, whatever your preference is. And remember, grass-fed butter is worth the money. When it appeared on the market, we totally switched to grass-fed butter. And for example, with onions, you can add them straight, or you can put into a bowl and sprinkle some red wine vinegar and pickle them. And they can sit there for a few days, and you'll add pickled instead of raw onion, which will be nice too. So again, I met Jim Schultz of Red Shirt Farm because I was looking to make an episode on my show with a farmer, and I heard that he has actually heritage. He raises heritage breeds of chickens and turkeys and pigs. And so I was very interested, and I went and met him, and I asked him what is different, and he explained it to me. I invited him to the show, and we made an episode with heritage chickens that of course cook very differently, but it turned out absolutely delicious. And then with heritage turkeys, before Thanksgiving, I came there with my crew, and we made an episode where I interviewed him right there, and we saw the turkeys running, and we saw the chickens, and we saw the pigs, and all the wonderful vegetables that he's making. So I made 3 episodes from it, showing him and talking to him and interviewing and letting people know. But what is so special about our farms, and why we want to support farmers markets, and why we're so lucky that we are surrounded by these wonderful farms? Because nothing will give you nutrients like something that was freshly picked. This is where the best probiotics are, best prebiotics, best nutrients that are still alive. So, and he told me, I said, Jim, what do you have? And he said, radishes, mint, and lettuce. And I said, okay, let's do it. So he gave it to me, and here we are. We are putting them into our salad, and I'll show you how easy it is to dress. I gave you an option for a dressing that is kind of traditional French, and I want to make sure that you use it as well. I don't have to show it to you really, because all you do is just you chop some shallots and you let them sit with your champagne vinegar or white wine vinegar or just lemon juice, sit for about 10 to 30 minutes to macerate, and then you just whisk in olive oil, and of course salt, pepper, that's all, and you have your dressing. And you can make it in advance if you want to, and you can keep it for a few days. Just remember to take it out of the refrigerator and have it come to room temperature, because olive oil becomes solid at low temperatures, and you want it to be flowing. So just take it out of the refrigerator and then shake your jar, and pour it. You can also add a little bit of mustard when you are after your shallots have been sitting. See how beautiful this is, even like a dark purple. And remember, the purple is amazing for your health. If you see purple potatoes or purple radishes, just grab them and eat them. Don't let them sit too long, because the longer you wait, the more nutrients escape, and you're not going to get optimum. So go to the farmer's market when it starts and eat your vegetables and quickly and get more and just fill yourself up. That's the season. That's the beauty of this season, where, we think of food as energy in terms of calories, right? We don't think of food in terms of that it has to be balanced, that some food is contracted and some food is expensive. Like, for example, salt is the most contracted and sugar is the most expensive. And if we eat too much meat or we eat too much salty things, we want to eat something sweet to balance ourselves. But if we eat in the middle, like fruits and vegetables and grains and beans, they're kind of in the middle of the spectrum. So that's wonderful. That's how we can eat. Also, remember that these greens, we always throw them out. But you know, they might be unfresh sitting in the supermarket, but coming from gym, they're definitely, you know, wonderfully fresh. I will wash them just like I showed you the parsley, and I will chop them and I'll saute them with some garlic and add some lemon juice, and it will be a wonderful meal. And also, did I tell you that when your onions or garlic or shallots are macerating in your dressing, you can add a little bit of mustard. That helps emulsify the oil together with acid. So what else do we put? Okay, we will add mint, but mint will probably come to the end, and we will also use mint to decorate, to like not decorate, but kind of chop. So we can do it by hand, actually. You don't even need a knife. You know, these leaves are so tender. You don't need a knife. They are so soft, and you don't, knife kind of will, I feel like it will hurt them, you know? They are so nice that doing it by your hand is like a more loving way to put them. And you can decide how much you want. If you want it more minty, put more. You can add other herbs as well if you want to. I just added mint alone, but it doesn't mean that if you have basil or if you have cilantro, if you want to add, of course, not strong herbs like rosemary or thyme, not these herbs, but leafy, like light leafy herbs. Okay, so anything else we have there? Let me see. I think that's it. Greens, radishes, mint, onion. Okay, so let me show you how I dress. And this is how my children dress as well. They learn from me, and it's very simple. All you do is, let me clean it up here so you can see well. You just sprinkle a little bit of salt, and you can use your favorite salt, like if you love some kind of special salt, you know, coming out of Himalayan salt or salt, sea salt or anything. That's a good place to use this salt. Some kind of expensive salt, or even finishing salt. Then you grind your pepper, and then you will pour some either vinegar or lemon juice or lime juice, some kind of acid. Doesn't have to be precisely what I'm saying. And now you don't add oil at this point. The best way to dress so that these flavors really penetrate into your greens is to do this, because if you add the oil, it will coat them and it will not allow for the flavors to develop. And then you just toss it together. And of course, as the season continues, and you will have cucumbers, and you will have tomatoes, and you will have new radishes, or you have snow peas, or you can even, you know, take asparagus. Although asparagus, I read that they recommend eating asparagus cooked. There is some kind of element in asparagus where they recommend it cooked. So I kind of, it was an authority I trust, and I mostly eat asparagus cooked. And we will cook asparagus maybe next time. So you just drizzle olive oil, and you don't have to measure, because then you will taste it. So you drizzle olive oil, and olive oil, of course, extra virgin, and then you just take and taste. It's so good. It's just perfect amount of seasoning. Nice textures, crunchy, delicious, and flavorful radishes. And they add color. And all you need to do is just take the bowl where you want to serve it, and then serve it there. So we'll transfer it. So now what we're going to do to finish this dish, you want to add some acid. So it's either vinegar or lemon juice. And it's about a tablespoon. So I'm going to kind of gauge it. So a tablespoon is about this much. Okay. And then I taste. I will add a pinch of salt because you might not realize and you might think, oh, it tastes good already. But you know, experiment sometimes. Add a little salt and see what it does. And salt brings out flavor like nothing else. All the flavors that you added there, they will come alive when you add your pinch of salt. And this is exactly what happened now. It's just wonderful, delicious. And I will show you how I will plate this. So you want to have some mint, you know, you can throw some mint. Mint goes very nicely with this dish. You can throw some mint and then you can use it also as a decoration. So that will be great. So you can either keep it here like that, or you can put it around, and I'll show you quickly how it will look. Simply because it's so important to make your food look beautiful. You know, you eat with your eyes first, and when you come to the table and you see this beautiful dish, you right away develop appetite and you are full of anticipation and you want to eat this. And when you are enjoying what you are eating, I bet you are getting more nourished. So you can just like put it to the side and then put this in the middle. Like pour it here, like that. Okay. And because they kind of have similar colors, you want to have something bright, so you can definitely take some mint and just like throw it over. It can be in smaller pieces or it can be in bigger pieces. You can definitely slice it if you want to, but I think this is nice. And then you can just take this piece of mint and just stick it in here. And you can even take some of your radishes and you can cut them. Okay, you can just slice them and kind of, you know, put here and there. Okay, if you want to, you can sprinkle a little bit of your almonds. That will add crunch, and the rest will go on your salad. So salad, of course, you want to serve the salad in a bowl. So let me take this away. Okay, so this is your kofta. Can you see it? And this is your salad. I'm putting it on a plate right here because I used my bowl for something else. Okay. And of course, salad, once it's dressed, you have to eat it right away. It doesn't sit for a long time. And then you can take your almonds, or you can toast pumpkin seeds, or another very, very healthy ingredient that I recommend that you include in your diet are hemp seeds. Hemp seeds are full of nutrients, and they will look also very, very pretty. I will shower this salad now with some hemp seeds, and you'll see how beautiful it looks. Okay. If I find it. Okay. Yeah. So hemp seeds, you can just snack on them. You know, they are a wonderful source of good fats and nutrients. See? And how beautiful it looks, showered with a little bit of hemp seeds. Okay, and now our drink, the drink that I promised you. So we'll make a lemonade using all these wonderful natural ingredients. Okay. So I put some frozen raspberries on the bottom, and they might, if you want it a little sweeter, you can add a little bit of maple syrup or a little bit of like a drizzle of honey if you want to. Then with your ginger, we have here, we will grate some ginger, and you can use a different grater, like with a smaller holes. I have so many of them. So you can use with smaller holes, right? Let me put it away. So you will grate your ginger, and then you can just take it into your hands, and you can either just squeeze like that, or you can take a little strainer and put it into a strainer and push it, and you will get your ginger juice there. Okay, and then all you do is you take your sparkling water, and you can use whatever sparkling water you want, and add it, and you have your lemonade. So here is to your health. It's very refreshing. What you can do is you can take a little fork and you can just smash the berries so that they give off more flavor. So they are not just for decoration. And lemon juice. Lemon juice or Meyer lemon. Meyer lemon is not as sour. And what is good about lemon juice, and try to consume more of it in the spring, because this is the time for cleansing. This is the time when new energy comes in. We are cleansing our bodies, and lemon is the sour flavor that liver loves. Sour and bitter. So these are the flavors that you want to include now to rejuvenate your liver, to detoxify it, to prepare it for consuming all this wonderful produce you're going to buy at the farmer's market. So let me taste it again. Lemon made a world of difference. So I encourage you to try it at home as well. And one more thing that I didn't add to the salad that I highly recommend is grating zest of lemon into the salad. This is something that I do when I mix it together. I was kind of rushing a little bit, and it missed my attention. But this is something that I really encourage you to do, to use the zest of lemon, because it has all the aromatic oils. The juice just gives us the flavor, but the aroma comes from the zest, from the oils of zest of the
Anna, the compliments are rolling in on the chat. Everyone is either anxious to do it or they feel like they've enjoyed it already. So that sounds wonderful. We can run a few minutes over if you're comfortable, and if anyone else has additional questions.
Yes, absolutely.
So we can run a little bit over. That was really a fabulous presentation.
Thank you so much. I have so much more to share. Thank you for signing up for my course. It's such a pleasure to share my knowledge with you, because what is it there for? It benefited me, it benefited my family, but now I want to spread it around. I want to make sure that people get excited about eating the way I do and enjoy good health. and strengthen their health and develop good energy. And food is energy, you know. We are all energetic beings. We don't think of ourselves as energy because we have these physical bodies, but everything is energy. And so we need to put good energy into our bodies as well.
Would the Kafkas freeze well?
Koftas will freeze well, absolutely, yes.
Wonderful.
That just defrost them in the refrigerator. I always defrost whatever I'm freezing. I always put in the refrigerator first and let it thaw. And when you are going to be warming them up, you might want to add, you know, a little more liquid. You have to taste. You might want to rebalance flavors a little bit, but other than that, this is like a really good, delicious and nutritious meal and a nice drink. And I congratulate you on the start of spring. And thank you for joining me today.
Anna, what is the recipe we're doing next week? Do you have that at the top of your head?
Next week, I will definitely do something with asparagus. I think that I might do pasta, which is most likely buckwheat pasta because it has more nutrients, with lots of different mushrooms, because mushrooms are very good for your immune system. And I will show you how to use a variety of mushrooms and how to incorporate them into your food and make it really delicious. And maybe we'll finish again with some kind of another salad, because salads are my favorite food.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
And of course, recipes will be sent to you in advance so that you can look at them as you are watching me. And if you have any questions, you can right away plug in with your questions.
How did that go with the questions? Did you feel too interrupted? Should we put them together in one lump, or was that working okay for you?
I think it was just perfect because I was answering in a timely fashion. People were thinking of things to ask when it was happening, so they got their answer right away. And I'm totally fine. It doesn't disrupt me at all. And I can always say, Barbara, can you wait a second?
Good, good. I don't see anything else coming in for questions, just compliments on the great presentation. Excited about the next class.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Delicious taste. People always feel like they're already tasting it.
Yes, thank you. It smells so good. I wish you could smell. I wish, you know, we were together and you could smell everything. But of course, it's not possible. And besides, we can probably serve more people this way.
Now we all have to come over for dinner and eat that.
Yes, thank you. Shelley was promoted